Say anything you want.
I'll find a for the thrill is gone. I gotta get it on and find that strength. Cause the road I chose, yeah, it's always full. Those highway nights make me feel so safe. I chase the lightning, I got soaked in the rain. Dance with my demons.
Welcome to Innovative Strategies with Bill Hasse. Innovative Strategies is a show designed to help people with their business and personal financial literacy, but not the way you've known. This is not your grandpa's financial literacy, as Bill uses his 30 plus years in the financial industry to stretch your financial box from, about a 30,000 foot view of things. Bill and his guests have helped hundreds of clients achieve and surpass their financial goals. If you have questions, email Bill at bill@billhasse.com or reach out to him at 216annette@gmail.com. Just put Innovative Strategies right in the subject line. Please like, subscribe to the YouTube channels, all of Bill's social media as well. Today, a system to success. Bill, welcome in.
Good morning, Ken.
Good morning.
Another fabulous introduction. I appreciate it. You know what? I want to point out that grandpa line that you state, and I love that because it's true, very true. I had dinner a few weeks ago downtown in the city at the Goodman Theater, and I was sitting with a bunch of extremely wealthy folks here in Chicago, and they were all fairly elderly, and I'm pretty confident none of them are listening to this show, but they don't need my advice. But I was talking to the couple next to me, and they were bringing up the fact that they were concerned about the markets these days, and I said, well, why would you be concerned about the markets? I mean, if you're invested properly, you wouldn't need to worry as much about that.
Yeah.
And I said, let me guess, you're in those mutual funds, and you've got those old time stocks and everything else. And they go, yeah. And I said, you're probably thinking the old days when IBM was the number one stock, by a long shot. And they're like, yeah. And I said, well, if you still have that, hold on to it, because they're making a big comeback. And I'm not giving investment advice here, but I'm just talking in general. And they're like, oh, really? And we started chatting. I said, you got to look at differently now as we did 10, 20, 30, 40 years ago.
That's right.
And you got to look at those with new technology, right? AI, robotics, vertical farming, things like that. 10G's out there and coming out, which is, don't confuse that with 5G. It's similar, but a little different. So it's a different mindset. It's a different way to think about investing these days and going forward. And there are a lot of people that have come to me that are showing concerns about the market. You can hear it on the news. You can and on the radio, the noon hour when they do the investments and stuff and talk about it. So
and of course, April is Financial Literacy Month.
It is, and actually, this is Financial Advisor Week.
Oh,
kind of thing. So seek one out, have a conversation, and get with the times, because the times are changing. There's a lot of talk about the Fed's being slow to respond to this inflationary problem, and it could drag us into a recession. There's all kinds of things that could happen.
That's right.
We'll see what happens as we go forward. The crystal ball is a little foggy going forward, but we'll get it going. And today, though, we want to talk about what we all hope for: success, right?
Yes, sir.
And we've got a special guest. We've got Jeff Schwartz here today to help us understand, as a business owner, how can we achieve greater success? What are some of the things that we need to be considering and thinking about? Jeff has been a lawyer. Well, he was a lawyer for 28 years. He's still a lawyer, but he's gone into other areas that include being a lawyer. The man has started 6 companies, sold 5, and he's helped over 300 different businesses and companies all over the country. Works for he's held positions in political and nonprofit organizations. He was the chancellor of the Delta Theta Phi Law Fraternity, 200,000 member organization that turned 100 years old while he was the leader of it, the chancellor of it. And if I'm correct, Jeff, that did start here in Chicago. Obviously, more than 100 years ago, you celebrated your 100th anniversary while you were leading it. But welcome to the show.
Well, Bill, thank you. And gosh, do you know your Chicago history? I think it was 1913 at the LaSalle Hotel in Chicago, which is burnt down right now. But we had a wonderful time for our 100th anniversary celebration. Chicago is a great town. I really enjoyed being there, spending time.
Yeah, we're hoping it gets back to that great town. It should, eventually it should. Yeah, that's awesome. Today, the big news in Chicago is this is a 30-year anniversary of the flooding of all the underground tunnels.
Sure.
When we were in the trading pits 30 years ago, we were shut down because of this flooding, because somebody tried to put a new post in the river and they went right through a tunnel and the river flowed right into all of the downtown area, the loop area. So that's a big deal. But we want to talk about how you help bring success to businesses, right? You're a success facilitator. I put that out there on the advertising for the show, and I'm just sitting there going, success facilitator. I mean, you can kind of guess what that means, but why don't you tell us what your definition is of that?
Well, thanks. When I had businesses and I brought in employees, the first day they worked there, they had their business cards already, because everyone needs to know that, hey, I am somebody. And I asked them, what title do you want? Because, the title really doesn't make a difference. It's what you do. So I could have called myself a founder, a president, a CEO. But what I actually do is facilitate success. I use that term very specifically because anyone can give themselves a title, but what's the pedigree behind it? I've been in business over 30 years, and you've indicated in the introduction, a couple of hundred businesses I've worked with when I start. And I'll share you a situation. In 1998, very important this time frame, I was the general counsel for a client. He was a jeweler. And he asked me this question one day. He says, Jeff, you ever hear of this thing called e-commerce? I says, I'll buy it. I don't know what that.
98. Wow, I didn't realize it went back that far.
Yeah. This was even before Google, before Yahoo. So I'm in New York and Long Island right now. I'm a Long Islander. But for 22 years, Bill, I lived in San Diego, California. I went to law school out there, and I lived there for 22 years. So one morning, my client and I, we took a ride up to Los Angeles for breakfast. And if you're in business, you meet people. So we had a Disney marketeer, a Big Five accountant, and I think there were Big Five accountants in 1998, not in 2022.
Right.
And a 22-year-old techie. And they had this wonderful idea. We're going to have an internet directory, a local online directory. Now, the internet was fresh at the time. So they're going to get advertisers going to fund this project. They're going to get millions of dollars and be billionaires, because everybody was a billionaire in 1998. The problem, though, was there was no there. They didn't get funded. They realized there was no revenue model, and they disappeared. Okay. But there was no online business directory at that time. I like the idea, and talk about success facilitator. So how can I service all the people that want a locally based directory? I hired some developers, because Everyone has to know what their high impact, high income is. And software development is not my high impact, high income. So I surround myself with good people. We built a program. And where are those advertisers, Bill? Community newspapers. They're already built in.
Yep.
So we built the software, went to community newspapers, says, hey, you want to get your articles and your pictures and your crossword puzzles and your classifieds online? We'll do that. Oh, you have a butcher who puts a quarter page ad. They want a directory. Fast forward, we built a locally based internet directory. And then when we ran out of geographic areas, we built hobby directories, such as surfing, because in California, that's what you do. You're surfing.
A little bit of surfing out there, yeah.
And I built that up. And 3 years later, I sold it to a Los Angeles newspaper company. So using the word success facilitator, understand what people want and give it to them. It's as simple as that, and find a way to do it. Because if you don't know what you want, guaranteed you're never going to get it.
That's how we met.
Yeah.
Right? We met in a networking group. We're on a Zoom just looking like this. There's 4 or 5 other people with us. And what was the question you asked of everybody on that group?
You know, the question that I asked, now I've been in business close to 40 years. And for my job, I dispense advice. People retain me to see what is the value. How can Jeff be a success facilitator? How can he help me? But then I've been asked many times, what is the one piece of advice, Jeff, that you received? And it's a very interesting story, Bill. You indicated I practiced law, and I was in Santa Ana, California. I was set for a trial with my client. We had a couple of years from preparing for the trial. My boxes of evidence, my witnesses were on call, and the judge was in the middle of the trial. He made us wait in the hallway for an entire day, just waiting there. Come back the next day. He made us wait in the hallway again for an entire day because he wasn't finished with his trial. So the third day he comes back, didn't apologize, said, counsel, I know you've been waiting in the hallway for 2 days. Let me tell you something about me and my biggest trait. This is the judge I'm going to try a case for. I'm lazy and I don't like to work. So at first I'm taken back and I said, okay, this is the guy who's going to try a case. But then what he said, Bill, to answer your question, what I told you when we first met, make it easy for me to give you what you want and we both win.
Yeah, and I love that line.
It's simple. If you know what you want and you tell me, I can help you out.
So there were 5 people in that group. How many of them answered you directly?
One person answered me in about 3 seconds, and the name happened to be Bill Hasse. He says, what I want you on my show. Done.
That was it.
And here we are.
As soon as you said that, I knew exactly what I wanted. But, but the other folks on that group did not answer. They couldn't.
Yeah.
They didn't know what they wanted.
And the key thing is when you find it out, even you think you know what you want, you got to be more specific. Look, the name of my business, my 6th business, is Conceive, Believe, Achieve. So the first step of conceive, if you don't know what you want, guarantee you're never going to get it. But if you figure out what you want, let's find a way to make that happen. Let's get the various different action steps together to do it. Now, moving on with these words and these initials, you remember when you were back in grade school or even high school, even college? You remember that, Bill? You remember?
Faintly.
So your memory is still that good. And
I mean, for a one-room schoolhouse, it's hard to forget. Right?
Whether you had a one-room schoolhouse or a major college campus, what were you measured by in school? What did you have to get? A high what?
High grades.
And what did they call it? A GPA?
GPA, yeah.
No, they didn't call it that back then.
No, because that was a one-room schoolhouse. I understand.
Right. It was just.
Yeah, it was great. It was on a 4.0, and now
we didn't even have like best in class or try to
scale.
be summa cum laude or anything like that. You went to school, you went out, you played, you did some homework, and you got your grades, and you moved on.
So, but what does GPA stand for? You know that now.
Grade point average, right?
Yeah.
Right. So I asked businesses, what's your GPA? I said, what do you mean GPA? What are your goals, your projects, and your actions? And the goals are something pretty big. I mean, something you really want.
Yeah, right.
And then your goals, you got to break it down to the projects. And within each project, you got to have the actions. And the greater specificity you have for those actions, you check it off and you get the endorphins and you get a project complete. And that's how you make a dream a reality.
We're going to get to that. We're going to
Okay.
get to the specifics of that. And I won't hold off a little bit because I want to stay in the broader general area at the moment of this because conceive. So every business owner, right, has already conceived something of what they want to do, and that's what we talked about from the show from the get-go in the beginning is how to take your business from conception to hiring that 500th employee and making that growth. So you have the process in which we're going to discuss how to get there. And by the way, good morning, Sally. Love seeing you. Appreciate you having you here today. But conceiving. So we have the Great American Walkout, right, and all these highly talented folks are coming out and they're starting their own businesses. So they've conceived, believe. Well, I believe that what I conceived is a good, solid business idea, right? And so I'm touching very lightly on these, okay, right now, because that I want to get past this high altitude look at this. It's because we need to dig deeper into the conceiving of a business and the believing in the business and then achieving what you believe in, because it's not as easy. It's easy to have a conception, right? It's easy to believe in it because as business owners, we all believe in it, right? It's our baby, right, Ken? I mean,
well, so all these millions of businesses that open, I question. I'm going to guess, what did we say, 5 million? What did you say? How many?
It depends on the sources you look at. Yeah.
I'm going to say 97.5% of those had no business plan or idea. Somebody just said, you know what? You should stop working for that guy. You should run your own business. Okay, let's go.
Well, okay, let's liken that to opening up a hot dog stop at the beach in San Diego, which I still don't understand how you leave San Diego and go to New York. But anyway, I love New York. Never been to San Diego, but I still hear the greatest things in the world about it. But it can be that simple. You look behind every hot dog stand that's sitting out there on the beaches of California, and you see somebody driving a Mercedes or a beautiful car, and living life large, cash business. But this is beyond this. You want to get into really serious business. You want to build something. You have to follow a system, or you have to develop a system. Right. You have to follow a system, and this is what we do on a show: is we teach people that you can't do it all yourself. You can't wear every hat. You have a quote here that I wanted to see. Naturally, even the best plan will have some unforeseen obstacles. However, understanding how to overcome them will achieve your desired results. I love that line. I do love that line because you do have to understand how to overcome them. And here we get back to that may mean that you need help because you don't know everything. You can't wear every hat, and you can't make everything work like a beautiful machine all as one person. Right? It takes teamwork, help, support. And that's kind of what you do. You come in and you provide that.
We don't know what we don't know. And everyone has what I call a high impact, high income. These are your God-given talents, your skills, your passion. And the more you utilize what you know best, what motivates you, what inspires you, you're going to achieve success. But then there are things that you don't like to do. Your things you maybe hate to do, but they need to get done. So what you got to do You got to find people that play at what you work at. So as much as you enjoy something, there's a guy on the right side and a gal on the left side that hate that. But the things that you hate, the guy and the gal on the other side love to do that. That's their passion. So you surround yourself with people to utilize their high impact, high income, and then you have a wonderful team.
Bingo.
You look at businesses or a sports team, the word is team. And why are the ones successful? I'm a baseball fan. I'm a big Yankee fan. And if you look at the World Series, sometimes the actual teams that win the World Series may not have the best players, but they work as a team, work together as a team. And that's what's real. I can talk about the White Sox or the Cubs also, but you got to work as a team. So you make that determination, and sometimes you get a good plan. And things change. For instance, you had a thriving business, a wonderful, successful, thriving business in February of 2020. And 1 month later, what happened? A global pandemic.
Yep.
So you got to be able to pivot, understand. That's where we have the conceive, believe, achieve. You look, who is your end user? Restaurants, okay? Restaurants had real problems, and I represented a couple of restaurants. And when people are not coming to restaurants, how are you making money? But the end user is that patron. So the patron can't come into your restaurant, bring the restaurant to your patron.
Yeah.
The specific things, who is using your product or service? And you have one method of delivery, and that doesn't work. Let's think of a different method of delivery. That's where the conceive is.
Gotcha. So, and good morning, Ted. Good morning, Derek. Thanks for coming and joining on. But I wanted, so it's difficult though as a business owner. Who do you listen to? Who do you believe? I mean, there are folks out there that say, okay, work on your weaknesses. And then there are folks that say, don't. Stick with your strengths, strengthen your strengths, and bring people on that where their strengths are is your weaknesses, and then let them do what they do. Then there's other mindsets just saying, if you work on your weaknesses and say that's like doing bookkeeping or something, and you plan to do it every day for an hour, it becomes routine. So then it's no longer a real burden.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting here going, I'm not buying any of this stuff. But there are many people out there who do, because they don't know any better. And that's why I like bringing people on like you to help support my thoughts. That's not exactly the best way to go about things.
Of course, you're listening to Innovative Strategies here, 21.6 in that. We've got Jeff Schwartz from, Conceive, Believe, Achieve, CBA. And he is he's a success expert, right? Help you get to
success facilitator,
right? To become that great. Jeff, if people want to know what you do, how you do it, how they get in touch with you.
Well, thank you for the question. I mean, you're visualizing right now a website, which is Conceive, Believe, Achieve website. And the website address is quite simple. It's CBA-consultant, because that's what I'm doing now. I'm a CBA consultant.com. And if you want to contact us, there's a place on there. It would be a real privilege to speak with you and help you achieve what you need to achieve.
Awesome. Sally puts out here, I think some businesses just shoot fish in a barrel, or whatever the saying is. There's no plan. Therefore, they jump from this to that within their business as they fail. If there's no machine, how can the machine run?
Key factor. Right. We had Joe Rojas on here, and I know, Jeff, you know Joe.
Yes, sir.
Joe builds machines for businesses. But your perspective on that?
Perspective on what I said earlier. Understand what your passion is. I ask people a question. Can you remember a time in your life when you've been successful? I don't care how you define success because everyone finds it differently. And most people think, says, yeah, I remember that. So you've just proven two things. Number one, you're capable of success because you just said you were successful. And number two, if you've done it once, you can do it again. So remember that moment in time when you're successful. Where were you living? Who surrounded you? What even clothes were you wearing? What was your environment? So create as many of those environments around that point of success and do it again.
So I would argue another point there, though.
Go ahead, argue. I'm an attorney. You can go argue anything you want.
Yeah, because the person didn't say, "Yeah, I'm successful right now." I remember when I was. They're not saying, "Oh, I am right now." So they're thinking back in a time. They need to have that mindset. They got successful now. How are you going to, get there, or are you there now? If not, how
Well,
are you going to get there?
right. If they were there, they just said I was there. Then think, what did you do at that time? Why were you successful? And we talked earlier that everyone has a certain definition of success. And I have a vision board. I look right on the right side. Here's a vision board and things that I want to see and want to accomplish. And there's only one quote that I put on the vision board, which is my favorite quote. It's a definition of success. The definition of success is love what you do so much that you can't wait for the sun to rise to do it all over again. And if you achieve that, then you can't fail. But fail, let's understand what FAIL is: a first attempt in learning.
Yes.
In order to be successful, you have to have failures. Look, Thomas Edison, 10,000 failures before he invented the light bulb.
Right.
So,
You can't know happiness without sadness, and success without failure. Yeah, we're gonna fail over and over and over and over again, and get used to it. It's like being a salesman and hearing the word no. You're going to hear it a lot in your lifetime, but you're going to hear those yeses, and you're going to get those successes. Um, and this is what I love about the guests, just like you, Jeff, that I have on the show, that they're successful. But that's not the important aspect. The important aspect is you're very good at what you do, and you're very passionate about it. You love it. You love what you do, and that's to me, that's I agree. That's a very, very important aspect um, in life. Not always easy to find, though.
I'm going to challenge you on that. When you say it's not easy if you don't want it to be easy. Because, Bill, every day you wake up in the morning, you have a choice. Is this going to be a good day or is this going to be a bad day? And every single day, there is crap just being thrown at you.
Yeah.
I mean, look at training. When I was a litigator, and you can go to any courtroom in any state in the country, the law is the same. The law is the law. The facts are probably proving the same. Then why are there two people? How you analyze it, how you look at it, how you perceive those facts, how do you perceive and how do you deal with the things that are thrown with you every day? You have a choice to be inspired or expired. If you allow something outside to expire you, that's your choice. Figure a way to make the best out of it. And you talked about passion. If you haven't seen, I can do whatever I want. I sold my practice after I was the chancellor, and I says, what am I going to do now? Because that was the most humbling 2 years of my life. I traveled around the country. I took the organization on financial hardship, doubled the attendance at their meeting. And I says, all right, 30 years of practicing law. I enjoy it. I'm inspired. I have the knowledge. So what can I do now? I can assist businesses because that's what I like. That's what I play at. That's my sandbox. Most people don't even like the operations. Let me do what I do best. I'm not an engineer. I'm not a chemist. I'm not a glass blower. I'm not a cook like Bill Hasse, but make a business out of it. Yeah, that's my sandbox.
Yeah, so we're getting some comments, Ted, Sally, and a few talking about, sometimes you let failure win, or let's say you're not following the machine, and so you're going to continuously fail. Um, I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that folks who are starting businesses don't understand that what it takes to start and run and build a business. And at what point do you call yourself successful? Well, if you're still in business, you're still going, you're still making it, you have some success going there. And Kent, your thoughts? And you?
Well, Jeff, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I know we're not married. If you were my wife, you certainly wouldn't hesitate. For most people throughout life, we've allowed other people to let us know if we're successful. So,
Point.
Jeff, how did you help me realize in my own business, my own life, that I am successful?
So the first question is, Kent, how do you define the success? And again, look in the conceive stage. The experience that I had as a litigator, taking depositions, going in deep to finding out what people want. Now, as part of the life experience, in addition to the legal aspect, the entrepreneurial aspect, in 1992, I was a candidate for United States Congress. I'm 30 years old. There was a new seat in San Diego, and I was asked to run for office. Very humbling, very exciting. And at the same time, we're not going to get to politics here, no Democrat, Republican, Independent. But at the same time in 1992, there was a certain governor from the state of Arkansas who was running for president. And he did a fundraiser for me.
Yeah.
And I asked him over time, I got to know him for a good number of years. I says, Mr. President, we've known each other for a while. How do you find success? He said, Jeff, very simple, two things and two things only. Find out what the people want and give it to them. And if you understand what somebody wants and you can find a way to give it to them, you're inspired by that and you provided something that they need. So that is success. If you're inspired by what you're doing and your inspiration, your knowledge, your skill, your experience, your talents can make someone better. And if you don't know it, find someone that does.
And well, you should know it, because like for me, and I've started a new business, and to me, it's a calling. I'm driven to start this new business for no other reason than it's a calling. I just feel this is something I need to do and that I want to do. So I do get up every day saying, yeah, what are we going to do today to get that much closer to what I'm hoping to accomplish? So I have an end goal, right? And I think everybody needs to start with an end goal. And then you come back to the beginning here, and how am I going to build this machine to get to that goal? Right? That's one way to look at it. Now, we're going to pull up. We want to get a little bit deeper detail here in what you do, because because this is something I think a lot of business folks, including myself, would look at it and say, "Oh God, no, I don't want to think about all of this stuff. I just don't want to think about all this stuff. I got enough to think about. I got enough going on. I'm trying to balance all these balls and wear all these hats." But you have this business operations improvement survey. And when I look at this, I cringe, that I'm like, I don't know that I really want to answer all these questions. Um, and then I have to answer them truthfully if it's going to benefit me and allow you to provide your intellect and abilities to help me get to where I want to go. So tell me about this survey, Business Operations Improvement Survey.
I will tell you that, but I'm also going to tell you a story. And when you're talking about business improvement, when I ask businesses, are you PC compliant? I said, Jeff, what do you mean PC? Now, Bill, if I ask you if you PC compliant, what do you think that stands for?
I'm politically correct, but I
most people say that.
Yeah.
But then I really ask, okay, are you paperclip compliant? So, all right, Jeff, I'll bite. What does that mean? So you own your business. You started your business. You take great pride in your business. You present yourself well. The office is nice. If you see a piece of garbage on the floor, you pick it up, you put it in the trash basket. Very clean, good environment to inspire your success. Would you agree with that, Bill?
I would. I would.
And a matter of fact, I'm going to venture to gather that you are so proud of your environment and your business and when people come in, if you see a paper clip on the floor, you're going to pick that paper clip up and put it in the holder, right?
I am. Absolutely.
Everyone, all the businesses say, the business owners say yes. Now, here's the question to determine if you're paperclip compliant. You have employees around you, people that work with you. How many of those people will walk over that paperclip, or how many will actually pick it up? So what's important in the business improvement survey, have you created a corporate culture? Have you created a work environment where your team has the same values as you? Are they going to pick up that paperclip, or are they going to walk over it? Now, it's something small, but what does that tell you? That tells you the environment. If you don't have a 30, 60, 90-day plan, the team that you have around you also, are they a 9 to 5, or do they look at the clock and they're in? Or do they like what they do? Do they have that passion? And at the end of the day, it doesn't cost you a nickel, but it's the world to people to say thank you. Bill Hussey said thank you to me.
Right.
And that goes with the business improvement. That's just one example of what you got to do for a successful business. It's not just the hot dog vendor in San Diego. You're building something.
You know, and we're taught that. We're taught that, you know, that leadership comes from the top down. How well we practice that is of question. I've worked in the corporate world where, you know, I thought I understood the corporate world, and that was not true, because I would go in early, I would work late, I worked very hard, I'd work through lunch, all these things that I thought were things that you would do in order to get ahead, right? Climb that ladder. And what I found was all I was doing was solidifying that the position I was in was where I was supposed to be, because I was the one who was getting the work done. And those around me who were those 9 to 5ers who would take those hour and 10-minute lunches, and, you know, the extra lunch, and show up a little bit late or leave a little bit early. You know, those folks, they were no different than in the position than I was in. And here I thought I was working so hard to stand out. So that was not a culture or an environment that I enjoyed, appreciated, and wound up leaving. You know, because that leadership top down wasn't there, wasn't flowing throughout the whole, you know, operations with all the, you know, employees. I agree with you. It's an ideal scenario, but that's a difficult goal to achieve, is it not?
Well, again, I don't like the words difficult and hard. It's only difficult and hard if you want it to be. You got to understand what you want. And my job is make it easy for me to give you what you want. Going back to that, what that judge told me in 1996. So that's part of the conceive stage. We really go into a deep immersion. We understand what's working, what's not working, what you want, what you don't want, what you can't, what you don't have. And again, focus on what your high impact, high income is. What is it that your passion is? What is it that you can't wait for the sun to rise to do it again? Now, your business is with financial literacy. And I don't know if you or how many of the viewers ever purchased a house. They own a house. And I will venture to guess, Bill, that when you bought that house, that first house, that was more house than you can afford. It was tough
Right.
to make that mortgage payment. But as you go through life and you build, all of a sudden, you're making that, and you're making improvements to the house. If you will build it, it will come. If you have a plan, most people live a business by default. The key thing is have your business and your life by design. If you design what you want, surprise, you're going to get it. Let me tell you another story. You've watched a movie before? Anytime you watch a movie in the theater?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And when you watch that movie, did you ever laugh at a movie?
I've laughed. I've cried.
You got scared?
Got
It's a
scared.
horror.
Yeah. Many emotions.
So, and what you're doing, you're watching a movie. And what you're watching not people, you're watching characters in that film. And those characters were portrayed by actors. Now, in order for the actor to portray that character, there was a script. They read, they rehearsed, they knew that script. They became that character that was required. Now, you, Bill, can write your own script. What character does Bill want to be? Does he want to be the multimillionaire? Does he want to be the best cook in the world? Write that down, because when you write it down, it comes from the mind, and it's on a piece of paper, and you're actually seeing your thoughts. And if you know what you want, there is a method. And that's what I work with people to know what they want. All right, this is what you want. Let's find how to get there. Let's rehearse where you are that person you want to be. And magically, you become that person.
You know, Jeff, I love you for this, because I deal with this every day. All right. This is when I talk about financial literacy, that's what I'm trying to help folks understand. That you need, whether it's in life or in business, you need to have a plan. You can't just go through it like okay. I remember that exact scenario when I bought my first home. Did I pay more than I originally set out to do? Absolutely. I did get in a little bit over your head and everything. And I remember a couple of years later looking back, and I'm standing in the driveway and I'm looking back at my home, two cars in the driveway, kids running around in the yard. And it's just like, wow, never thought I was going to get here. You know why? Because I hadn't planned to get there. It never crossed my mind. It was a surprise. I turn around and I go, wow, how did this happen? And I think that's just not the best way to go through life. Um, Letting it happen and hoping for the best. And we used to always say, hope for the best, plan for the worst, but people don't plan for the worst. They don't plan to get to the best. And we don't do that in our personal lives. So of course that's going to follow into our professional lives. And I agree with you. I look at some of the things that, your survey is doing here. You're talking about policies and procedures, right? And these are things I don't necessarily want to think about. Do you have action steps outlined for each goal? And I got to be honest with you. Even now, I'm not sure that I can say yes to that. Contingency plans. Those are always thought of and discussed about with the folks that I have surrounding me. But do we have specific plans in place? Not necessarily. Accountability tools. We try to hold each other accountable. We set dates. We set goals. We have meetings. And have we met our goals? Have we achieved what we're looking to achieve? And if not, why? These are all very, very important things that you need to take much more deeply into consideration than I think what many of us do. And you go on to the tracking and the business model, and I'll let you talk more about these things because this is your baby. But the importance and the value of each of these.
So
right. Go ahead.
When we are working, understand we have one life. It's not a dress rehearsal. So what we are doing when we go to work, we are trading our lives for that organization, whether it be our own organization or as an employee of that organization. And if you're trading your life for that, why is it something you enjoy? What are you going to do? I will walk, as I talked about the paperclip test and the corporate culture. I ask a business owner, if I can go into your office right now, and sometimes there's 20 people, sometimes there's 50 people, sometimes there's 3 people, and I'm going to point to any one person. I'm going to ask them, what is the mission of this business? Why have you chosen to trade 8, 6, 10, 12 hours every day of your life for this business if you don't know what that mission statement is? clear, specificity. That's what I talked about, the action steps in your GPA. The greater specificity you have, the simpler it is. If it's something is hard, if it's difficult, let's find out why. When we were kids, all right, let's go back. We're 6 years old, 8 years old, 10 years old. What was our job?
To raise our children to be good people.
No. We're kids. We're 6, 8, and 10 years
Oh,
old.
when we're 6,
To have
8,
fun.
yeah, I did.
Bingo, Kent, you got it. To have fun. Our job was to have fun. When was it that, oh, if you get old, you can't have fun anymore? If you're doing something you enjoy, if you're doing something, you have your knowledge, skill, experience, your talents to have fun, naturally you're going to be successful at it, because then work is not a 4-letter word that ends in K.
Right.
It's something you look forward to. So when I work with this business improvement assessment, do you have those 30-day goals? Do you have an accountability? Because nirvana is self-accountability. Not many people reach nirvana. So, and as things happen, we've talked about that global pandemic that happened in March of 2020. Things change. So what is a contingency plan? We can't just, oh my God, we're out of bit. So think about these things. Those who fail to plan to fail. And I'm sure you've said that before.
Absolutely, and I agree with you. One of the difficult parts, though, is well, two things I want to touch on. Nobody could have planned for a pandemic. Nobody really could see this coming, but you can have plans in place for things that might affect your business in a negative way, so that you can contingency plans to adjust to market changes, because we have these changes that occur to us all the time. It just doesn't affect us quite as big as a pandemic, right? When I used to advise international banks on how to protect US dollars in their banks, we had to plan for the fluctuation of the currencies, the fluctuation of interest rates, the fluctuation of regulations that may or may happen, and trade negotiations, all kinds of things that could come about, but you didn't know if they ever would. You were just planning for the potential for that. And that can be difficult to do, because now we get back to, I want to touch on the other thing you brought up, the why. When people understand why they're doing what they're doing, they're going to be more apt to be focused on the game, let's say. Right. I remember working at a bank, and I had a manager when I said, well, why do we have to do it this way? Because I know a way that's better. And they're like, well, you're not here to ask why. You're here to do what you're told to do. And I thought, boy, oh boy, this is really poor management here. And that's leadership coming down from the top, when we go back to earlier discussion. But so how important is the why?
Oh, if you don't look, you have to focus on your why, because once you understand what your why, the how will come. I mean, let's talk about the why. And this is the best example I've had of a why. You're a dad. You have an 8-year-old daughter. She's in her room, and then the door was locked for some reason. And then all of a sudden, you're smelling something, and you see smoke coming out from that room. And she's screaming, "Daddy, Daddy, Daddy." Now, what's your why? You don't know how she's going to get out, but you know your why: to protect your daughter, protect the son. That why is so powerful. Whether you slam the door down, whether you get an axe, you don't know what the how is at that moment of time, but you know what your why is. And that's a very powerful thing, because that's, once you know that, conceive, believe, achieve, it's know what your why is, know what the other people are, and it's going to come. It's going to follow.
Yeah, I agree with you. And that can come in when you talk about, you go into a business and say that there's 10 people, and you just pick one out and you say, what is the mission of this company? If they know what that mission is, then they know why
Exactly.
they're doing what they're doing. I love that. It's so important to Because a lot of people say, "Oh, I got to start a business. Oh, we got to get a mission statement together." Uh, you know, that's not just something that's part of building a business and starting a business. That is a really important aspect at the very earliest stages of building a business. Even for the single solopreneur needs to know that. Why am I?
Everyone has a skill set. And as I indicated, there's a lot of things that I can't do. And I know that. I don't try. I know what I do, and I know what I do well. And if I can take that away from someone who most people that I've seen, most owners, know why they started their business, know what they can do, but they hate the operations, the policies, the procedures, the actions. That's my sandbox. I enjoy that. Why did I start? This is my sixth business. I like building businesses. I like understanding what the challenges are because my entire career, as long as there are challenges, I'm in business. If everything's fine, I got nothing to do.
There you go.
And
Right. Well, you build that business, and then you don't want to wind up being just a manager of the business. That's why you're selling your business and starting new businesses over again. Am I hitting close to home here?
I think you're very good impression there. You know,
I'm the same way. I'm that way. I'm building this new business, but I'm already looking at an exit strategy.
Sure.
3 to 5 years down the road. I don't want to manage it.
But but if you talk to success, everything that Jeff does here at Conceive, Believe, Achieve works for anybody, right? So
Oh yeah.
I even though I own this radio station, and so I am an entrepreneur, my strengths are as an intrapreneur, right? So I love being in management for a company because it takes away some of the risk, but I can also achieve a certain level of success there. And I've positioned myself in some companies that are smaller that give me some freedom to be that entrepreneur. But if I can't define success or I don't go through the things that Jeff and his company are doing, CBA, then to me, and again, forgive me if I'm overshooting the goal here, but an entrepreneur or can utilize you, Jeff, and what you guys do as well.
Ken, you're not overshooting this by any means. And let me ask a question. People, as Bill, you said 3 to 5 years, you want the exit strategy. Then I ask, what do you want to do? Once you're out, let's say you now have $30 million in your account. What are you going to do?
And what's the next mountain, right?
So it's great to be successful and have the money, but that's not the happiness. Look at Bill Gates, divorced, couldn't, all the money in the world. Jeff Bezos, money can't buy it. Steve Jobs and all the money, he's dead. Okay, so it's not the wealthy game. It's what do you want? And I'll tell you, once you know what you want, back to that why, you can incorporate that in your business. Litigators are the absolute worst. They think they got to work, they got to do vacation. Oh, no, I can't do a vacation. That's ridiculous.
Right.
But a trial, when you're representing a client and you're on trial, you have plenty of clients be there, but for that week or 2 weeks, you're blocked, you're focused, and business goes on before and goes after. So if you can block a week off for trial, block a week off of your vacation. You work hard. What are you working hard for if you can't enjoy what you're doing?
Yeah.
We got one life. Let's enjoy it.
Yeah.
That's why I love the fact that I so disagree with the measurement of success being how much money somebody has. As everybody knows, I spent 20 years in the trading pits. I knew plenty of wealthy people. I knew very few of them that were happy. And that to me is a greater measurement of success than anything money can show. Are you happy?
Yeah. So the old Oxford Dictionary defines success as the accomplishment of an aim or a purpose, and that's what I've heard Jeff say multiple times
Yeah.
today.
Yeah.
You know,
So remember that character in the script that you're writing. How are you going to write the ending of that Bill Hussey character, huh? What's going to happen to him?
Legacy?
He'll become the biggest podcaster out there.
There you go.
the
Well, maybe-
business voice of Chicago.
And there's always the be careful what you wish for. But the business voice of Chicago would be a very nice
You bet.
legacy to have. And I don't have aspirations beyond that, at least at this point, because we set goals and we set high goals that may be difficult to achieve, but don't set goals that are unachievable.
Well, then you go back to the goals. They should be SMART goals: specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and a timeline. That's a SMART goal.
Yeah.
Because again, with accountability, measurable. I mean, it's great to have a goal. I want to lose weight. Well, first of all, nobody wants to lose weight, because when you lose something, you hope you find it. You want to release weight.
Right.
You know, so be again, the specificity, not only in how you think, how you say, how you write. If you have that mindset with clarity and you have something that's attainable, you're going to get it. It's as simple as that. If you know what you want, you're going to find a way to get it. Hey, you've been in an airplane, Bill, right?
Oh, yeah.
All right. And let's see, an airplane is how many tons of weight? A lot.
Yeah.
It goes up in the air and it doesn't crash. A cruise ship with a lot of people, a lot of food, a lot of activity, it goes in the water and it doesn't sink. Why did that happen? There was a plan. You got to think of what you can do. And in business, things that didn't exist before. I mean, we can go all the way back. Horseless carriages. Oh, that's never going to work.
Right.
Well, someone thought about it. And step by step, how long is it going to take? What's it going to do? What do we really need? So when you go down to that specificity, that clarity, and if you have the clarity, you write that script, it's going to happen. And you rehearse that. You write that script. That's the life and the business by design, not by default.
There you go. Yeah, the other big thing too with what you're doing, and I've got your your questionnaire up there on screen, is you have to be brutally honest. You can't go,
you do.
Yeah, we kind of do. Sure, I'll say yes to this. We'll give that a 3. You know, you really have to be brutally honest with yourself as you're going through this. Bill, in the green room, you were like, I hated this.
Yeah, absolutely. Because there were too many of these things that I don't feel I'm doing adequately.
Sure.
And I didn't like that about myself. I didn't like that I wasn't doing these things adequately, but I'll be honest with you, some of the things I'm like, I didn't even think about. And many of the things I don't want to think about because I get too many other things to think about. Right. And therefore but this is so incredibly valuable what you have put together, Jeff.
Jeez, this should have been a 2-hour show.
This should have been a 2-hour show because I can't emphasize enough that these are things every business owner out there would benefit from, knowing you, knowing the process procedures that you can help with, the tracking, the business model, and it's so incredibly valuable because we just don't think about everything like this.
Yeah.
And we need to be successful. You have over 2 million new businesses started, and maybe you can save 4.8 million, depends what service you're looking at, source you're looking at. But the percentage of failure is incredibly high, and it's because of this, this lack of proper mindset. This lack of paying attention to details. Because if I build it, they'll come.
Yeah.
It's not quite that simple.
Right.
But Jeff, we got like 2 minutes left. Is there something we've left out? Something important? Something about you? Something about your business? Some way we can get people to more clearly understand the value you bring to the table and the importance and value it would be in getting in touch with you.
Well, let's see. In addition to the entrepreneurial experience, the legal experience, the political experience. I'm married 37 years. So
Congratulations.
that tells you something, right? My wife should get all the medals in the world with a serial entrepreneur. But if I can have a walk away with some people, I love what I do. I can't do everything that you as a business owner can do. Do what you do best and find people who play what you work at. Anyone can call themselves a consultant, an expert, a coach. I don't care the titles again. But what is the pedigree? What do you have behind that? I have a passion for what I do, and I've done it for over 30 years with hundreds of businesses, large and small, public and private, product and service, manufacturing, distribution. So I say whether you're a butcher, baker, or candlestick maker, there are certain principles and tenets of operations are the same. But the question, can you see it? Can you hear it? You know, we got two of these and two of these, only one of these. There's a reason. I see things that you won't see because I've done it for 30 years. So it is my passion to help others. I've started a nonprofit for poker because I'm a poker player. But it's just, it goes with who you are and how it can help you. That's my inspiration.
We
My
all have some
inspiration is to help.
talents. We all have some hidden talents, and Jeff, I can't thank you enough for coming on the show today and sharing with us all your knowledge and inspiration as well. So please, if you would love to get in touch with Jeff, I know we've put that up on the screen several times. Anybody missing out on that, please go to CBA hyphen consultant.
Yep.
Consultant, no S.com, or reach out to me, billhasi.com, or to us here at 216 The Net.
There you go. For all of us here at 216 The Net and Innovative Strategies, we can't thank you enough for getting caught in the net for this episode. Come back next week as Bill will have another episode. It's a weekly thing.
It is.
Of course, you know what? Come back at 12:30 for questions you never thought you could ask in church. And for all of us here at Innovative Strategies, 216 The Net, have a blessed Easter, folks.
Thanks for listening in again, Jeff. What a pleasure. A true pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.